It was rushed out as quickly as possible, and there's just nothing redeeming about it past the silliness of its concept. And really, there's only one good scene in the film, and I'm using the word good very loosey-goosey. There's only one really entertaining scene in the film, and it's pretty much the opening scene. I mention this every time I talk about this movie. Winnie the Pooh rips some lady's top off, and her titties start jiggling around like it's an NVIDIA physics demonstration, and then he throws her in a wood chipper. But not before giving her like an ooga face. It's like the most emotion Winnie the Pooh showed in that entire movie. But regardless, that film is horrendous. And yet, its sequel, which came out, has a 100% Rotten Tomatoes. Granted, it's only 7 reviews. Like, I didn't think such a thing was possible. I guess maybe there's 7 paid reviewers. They were shilling it. Maybe the director of the film gave them strippers and blow for the advanced screening, so they had a great time watching it. But that, I couldn't imagine that being real. But the audience score is also pretty high, and I've always said you can't trust Rotten Tomatoes, but still, this is interesting. So, I went and saw Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 today, and I have to wonder if I'm suffering from psychosis, because there's no way I watched the same film that they're reviewing. It's still bad. Now, I will say, it is an astronomical improvement over the first film. But that's like saying solid poop is better than diarrhea. Like, you're not wrong, but it's still shit. And maybe that's a bit too harsh. I wouldn't say it's shit, it's just not good either. Like, I know they're creating the whole Pooniverse out of this, so they're making, like, the Twisted Childhood universe or whatever, where it's taking property like Winnie the Pooh, Pinocchio, Peter Pan, Bambi, and they're making horror movies out of it and tying it all together into their own horror cinematic universe with all of it. And I think that's, like, a really fun idea. Like, I conceptually, that makes me laugh, and I think that's what they're going for here with all of that. But right now, they're just starting to find their footing on how to make watchable movies, because the first movie is unwatchable. This movie is definitely watchable. It's just not a great film either. The movie does try a lot harder. It's still low budget, but you can tell it's a higher budget, and they put a lot more effort into it. So, first of all, I'm going to get my compliments out of the way here. They actually do a much better job with the character design this time around. Winnie the Pooh looks a lot better. It no longer just looks like some kind of fetish costume with Winnie the Pooh. It looks like an actual character now. It doesn't look like just a man in a mask. It actually does look like a mutant abomination, which it's supposed to be in the universe. They absolutely did a much better job this time around with the monsters here. And they do bring in a new face, a new villain, Tigger. So they bring him in from the Winnie the Pooh property. And he is, he's probably my favorite part of the film, just because of how over the top they had this character play. They also bring in an owl, but Tigger was a standout because every time he's on screen, he just calls women bitches. So he goes on a killing spree at like a nightclub. It very reminiscent of like the scene from Blade, or even like John Wick, but if there was no one fighting back, just executing people in a nightclub, really. In fact, it has nothing to do with John Wick. I'm just thinking of scenes with nightclubs. But anyway, he goes to a rave, and he starts just murdering every person there just because. He's piling up corpses. And every time he's about to murder a woman, he makes sure to call them a bitch. So it'll be like, hey, bitch. And then like slash their head off. Or if he's like going on like a stabbing spree with his long fingernails, his claws, he's like, I'm gonna disembowel you, bitch. To every single one of his female victims. Every single one of them. It's his most used phrase. And that definitely did have me laughing a little bit. It's not exactly the most highbrow writing or anything, but it also shows that the movie didn't take itself too seriously the entire time. And that's when the movie's at its best, when it's not being super serious. There's a couple of referential jokes and meta jokes that they make that I actually did think land. Like, I thought they did a pretty good job when it came to, like, some of the humor they interject in here. But, unfortunately, that's all overshadowed by trying to tell a really serious, dramatic narrative. So, in the first film, there's no story whatsoever. It's just random killings, and they're not very creative either. It's like the most stereotypical slasher-type killings, like getting hit with something in the head and they die, or getting run over by a car. Nothing too creative. In this movie, another compliment I have for it is the kills are significantly more creative. They definitely had more of a budget to work with, so they showed you some more interesting and more gruesome things. The very first scene, like Winnie the Pooh starts breaking every single one of this woman's appendages, and then puts her head in a bear trap and slams it on her, and it's fucking gruesome. And someone else is like,
How do I exit out? I don't want to travel to either. I just want to walk back. Where's the Shoji Temple? What? What the fuck? Why do I have to... I'm confused. I was just trying to go here. Can I not... Maybe this area is closed off? This little city area. If I want to go up here, up this road. Let's see. I want to go to that marker. Oh, I can go. It was just that particular entrance was closed off. Alright.
like burning to death in the background, and Owl is spitting like acidic venom on people as their face is melting. Like, there's a lot more.
Oh, wait, what the fuck? Ito is currently, under strict surveillance, so you have to tread carefully. Please choose a destination or the Yoshiwara Pleasure District. Where's that? Sahoji Temple. Whatever, let's just talk to Taka.
Creativity to the way that they kill. But I do actually have a statement on that I'll get to when I talk about the negatives. In fact, I don't even know why I'm alluding to it here. One of the things that takes away from that, though, is that because it's a low budget, they know that if you could see everything in broad daylight, you'd immediately tell how phony baloney it is, and it'd take you out of it. So instead, they obscure all of it with, like, the darkest and most close-up shots imaginable. Sometimes when you're watching Winnie or Tigger or Owl kill someone, it looks like you're looking at it through a fucking microscope. Like, you're looking at their goddamn cells. Like, you can't really tell what's happening sometimes. All you know is someone is being brutally murdered. Because you can hear it, you can kind of see, like, inklings of something on screen. But it is so fucking dark half the time you can't make out what's going on. So that is a big complaint I have. Because they do try and get more creative. They do succeed in being more creative. But still, they're betrayed by their budget because they have to keep showing you it in a really hard to figure out what's going on way. So shaky cam, super dark, cutaways, all this type of, like, nauseating, like, camera work ruins some of the scenes. And they do use CGI occasionally in here, and hooey, is it rough. There are some scenes that look straight up N64 era, like Tigger's tail, for example. Goodness gracious. Also, in the opening scene, when someone is set on fire, I'm pretty sure that was just JPEG fire that they moved around a little bit. There is a lot of times when they try and integrate CGI into this film that you can really see they did not have the budget for those special effects. That it was just not there for that. But when they're using practical effects, for the most part, it looks pretty good. Back to what I was saying, the first film didn't really have a story at all. Just random killings with things that vaguely resembled Winnie and Piglet. Nothing else. Just, that's the whole story in a nutshell. Here, they did bring on a real writer, and they wanted to tell a real story. But it just does not match the tone of the film. The film is at its best when it's being over the top and goofy. When it's trying to be really serious by telling the story about Christopher Robin, who his brother got kidnapped and he's going through hypnotherapy to try and remember his brother. Kind of actually reminds me of the plot to the Five Nights at Freddy's movie in a certain way. But he's trying to figure out what happened to his brother. If I could only figure out who this man was that took him, because I saw a piece of him in my memories, then I'll know what happened and I can get my brother back. So it tries to make you care about that story and care about these characters in a different way by giving you this emotional narrative about guilt that Christopher feels for not being able to protect his brother, and It sets up a bit of a mystery there on, what happened to him and how it connects to everything else. And it's not like a bad attempt or anything, but it just really feels out of place because it doesn't exactly land when it's fucking Winnie the Pooh and the gang just killing people for the vast majority of the runtime. So the emotional story that they're trying to weave in there, like jump scares to this killing montage, really conflicts with that because it just doesn't work. No one's gonna care about that storyline. Not that it's poorly crafted or anything, but that's just not the focal point of the film. The film is focused entirely on killing. And they established that immediately upon starting this film. They don't even really have a good reason for why Winnie the Pooh and the crew go on this killing rampage. Like the scene where they just start killing people at a rave, Owl just says, "I hope you're ready to party." And then Tigger and Pooh start executing hundreds of people. And the reason? Because fuck you. That's why. I mean, there is like a light reason that Owl sprinkled in like 2 sentences, where he's like, if the humans keep coming to us, eventually we're just gonna have to roll over and die. So let's take the fight to them and just kill them all. So that's why they're out here hunting everyone. But yeah, the story here, like, again, I don't even think it's bad. Like, the backstory is simple but effective. Also, the entire plot, like the actual story, is extremely predictable. I think you will figure out everything the second that it starts introducing those narrative plot threads, because it's very obvious where all of it goes. It's simple, it's not bad, but it just doesn't add anything to this film besides just being like this side quest outside of just surviving the killings. It just, I don't know, it's very underwhelming. Like, they could have just doubled down on the over-the-top goofiness of everything. Instead of making, like, a story that tries to take itself seriously, make a story that doesn't. Luckily, it's not a long movie, so even though a lot of time is spent with this story, which is a fucking snooze fest, it at least doesn't bore you to tears because the movie is so short that you're still mainly getting tons of, like, over-the-top violence in this film that keeps you engaged with it, because that's really all the film offers. It's just a bunch of mindless killing in creative, yucky ways. So while I may not agree with the experts at Rotten Tomatoes that this is a 100% certified fucking fresh, and I don't even agree with the audience score that it's an 80%, I still think that it's definitely better, just not good. If I was to put this film on the Moist meter, I think I'd give Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 a 40%. And maybe that's being too generous, but I really can't stress enough how much better this one is than the first one. Which again isn't saying a lot, but I at least appreciate they're going in an upward trajectory here. It's showing that they're learning from previous mistakes. Their past sins are being rectified. They're trying to bury that and be better from it. But yeah, I think I'd give it like a 40%, I guess. Yeah. So, definitely not a 100%. Don't listen to that baloney. That's really about it. So yeah.
Welcome back to the show today. It's going to be really fun. So, have you ever wondered, well, what Jeff Kaplan was doing? The kind of changes that happened after he left? Other insider knowledge?
You guys
That's
fucked him
actually
up.
what
Nice.
we'll be talking about today, because across some sources, more information has came to light, including a situation that is hurting individual developers on the Overwatch team where it hurts, in their pockets, and all because of a policy change that Mike Morhaime and J. Allen Brack were not able to overrule Bobby Kotick on over time. Something that was a long-standing point of difference that finally in 2023, the rule was able to be changed. There's a lot to talk about today. It's pretty wild stuff, so let's get in with the aid of our sponsor. Brilliant, the place to learn by doing across thousands of interactive lessons in STEM fields, and most importantly, done right and made fun. They are bite-sized, interactive, enjoyable, because guess what? The world is cool, learning how it works is cool, and when it's delivered right, not just boring old school rote learning, it's actually a fun and satisfying time. That is why Brilliant, by focusing on real problems, developing real skills, with great tracking of progress, bite-sized lessons that actually fit into your life, are just tremendous. And
You guys are
for a
blocking
teaser,
my way.
I love one of the new courses they did. It's called
God,
How
fuck, I can't see
Technology
his
Works,
attacks.
and it's straight up doing things like, say, computer memory, GPS, passwords, video compression, actually like showing you and you interacting with how those things work. And I just think the world around us is so more rich when we understand the mountains of progress that it's all built atop of. So I'd recommend that. And of course, be it programming, data science, physics, or math, Brilliant has got your personal development goals covered. It is a fun and rewarding habit to build, and you can try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days at brilliant.org/Bellular News, or you can click the link in the description, where you'll also be able to get a 20% discount on an annual premium subscription. So, why is this a video? It's pretty simple. Jason Schreier writes for Bloomberg. He's doing a book on Blizzard Entertainment right now, and he shared some of his sources in light of some reporting that happened last week with Overwatch. Now, of course, yes, he's doing a book. This is obviously in his own interest, but also to do that book, he will have had many sources who are familiar with things at Blizzard, and that does mean that he's a pretty damn good source of information on this. Now, as for what we learned, well, Blizzard employee compensation changes, Overwatch 2's dire financial performance, what Johanna Faris, the new Blizzard president, is up to, the things she's considering, a bit more about Jeff Kaplan. We've got major cancelled narrative plans, including a top-tier character death, and Jason flat out confirming what people were worried about last week. Now, what prompted Jason to do this was a lot of changes happening to Overwatch 2, and I'm going to give you a quick TLDR so that you basically are aware of everything, but I will go through this decently quickly. First up, Overwatch coins are no longer coming from the weekly challenges. Instead, they're going to be on the free Battle Pass, where you'll be able to earn 600 of them, and the weekly challenges will instead be giving you Battle Pass XP. That is certainly an improvement, but I mean, yeah, you're getting 60 more. But I suppose, because they're not tied to the weekly challenges, you are less likely to straight up miss a source of those coins. I mean, if you miss a weekly, you miss some XP, that's annoying, but you can always kind of grind back. As for heroes, they're going to be unlocked for everyone for free. And if you previously did any purchases, like maybe a battle pass or something like that, with the intent of, mainly doing it for the hero, well, there's going to be no sort of gift or recognition that that thing has changed. This was confirmed by Aaron Keller, and it's the sort of thing, look, when those things are sold, they are sold as is, as of the time of sale, so it's not like they would need to do any form of, gift or anything like that. I would just say that a gesture of goodwill certainly is a nice thing, but as we're going to be sort of discovering later, they're maybe not in the situation where they can be doing gestures of goodwill. Then Mythic skins are going to have their own shop. They're no longer on the pass. Premium battle passes will earn a currency for Mythic skins, and then you can spend that in the Mythic skin store, and basically you'll be able to unlock the skins granularly. So maybe you want only the level 2 Quest Watch Tracer. Well, you can spend your way up to that, and that'll be that. Now, this currency, of course, will also be in the store, it seems, but we do not have the full details yet. Overall, this is, I suppose, an improvement. It means if you want an older one of those Mythic skins, like the current Season's one, if it doesn't appeal to you, then there still is going to be value in the Battle Pass, and you can get the thing that you missed. That being said, there will be a 2-season gap where, the current Mythic skin will not be purchasable on that store for a bit, which, is obviously a bit of the FOMO coming in. As for ongoing content, there's a focus on the competitive health of the game. There's a new mode, Clash, in Season 10, along with a map for it. Season 11's got a new map, and continued seasons will be reworking and refining existing maps as well, and they've been talking about their latest hero. Overall, these are positive changes for the game, and if you care about core, like, regular-ass PvP Overwatch, then this is fine, and it does seem that they will be working hard to refine your game, and that is where their efforts are going, because I can tell you where they're not going: PvE. So, last week, some leaks and rumors were coming out essentially saying that PvE in Overwatch 2 is dead, right? That Invasion was basically a non-starter. Well, Jason Schreier picked up on all of this, and he decided to offer some further context, I suppose, based on all the things that he's learned for doing his book and all of the contacts that he's made. So then, new information via the Game On newsletter that is published for Bloomberg. I'm just going to give you the things that stood out to me. So, bonuses and pay. Blizzard employees get 2 bonuses a year, and these bonuses are based on profits from previous halves of the year. Now, the context is that Blizzard always had fairly low pay for the area that they were in, but these bonuses could make up for that. And certainly if you were, being a bit underpaid, but Wrath of the Lich King came out and sold crazily, and Diablo 3 came out and sold crazily, well, you probably would be happy enough. Overwatch 2's team members in August of 2023, which is when the bonuses for the first half of 2023 would be discussed, they were basically told that the poor performance of Overwatch 2 meant that they shouldn't have received anything. Shouldn't being the operative word there, because the idea here is, like, look, the performance of your game, if the profit share was only based on Overwatch 2, it wouldn't warrant you having a bonus. But the company was basically going to come up with something so that they wouldn't be, you know, completely left short. But the thing that then changed, what is new, is that this month, Overwatch 2 team members were told that they would be getting a bonus of nothing. Of 0%. And this suggests that Overwatch 2 did not make a profit in the period covered by this bonus. Now, this happened this month. This month is March, so my understanding here is this means that Overwatch 2 failed to make a profit in the second half of 2023. So let's have a chat about the second half of 2023 for this game. We can look at the key events, and I suppose in looking at them, we'll learn what hasn't worked. And this is going to be painful. So, Season 5 was Quest Watch. It had a pretty strong mythic skin with Tracer. I thought it had a pretty well-themed battle pass. Season 6 then was Invasion. This was the PvE launch. Remember the $15 to get into the 3 missions or the $40 bundle. Then Season 7, Rise of Darkness, was a pretty big one. I mean, yes, it had all the usual things, but it had the tie-in with Diablo, where, you know, there was the Lilith. That obviously was a very large thing, and that actually caused a hell of a lot of drama, because the only way to get that skin was to buy the $40 bundle for the season. Of course, in the previous season, $40 meant you were getting PvE and a bunch of skin things. In Season 7, instead of 3 missions that you could play on multiple, difficulty levels with story and cinematics and all of those things, even though, let's be real, they were pretty damn weak, but still, it was the same price. What are you getting for that same amount of money now? Oh, you're just getting a skin, or like 2 skins. It's like, man, what the hell? Also, Le Seraphim, who are a K-pop band, they also did a pretty big tie-in. In fact, that tie-in led to that K-pop group performing at BlizzCon, so that was seemingly quite something. Now, of course, we don't know how that deal was structured. In many cases, you would imagine that it's some sort of profit share indeed, and we've talked about this before, but one of the things that's really helped Fortnite kind of get back into the scene and sort of grow after it had a bit of a dip was doing loads and loads of those branded collabs. But the thing is, and this is one of the things that was cited by Epic Games whenever they decided to reduce their headcount, yeah, they're getting more revenue, but the unit economics are worse, because some of that money has got to go to the person who owns that license. So with Le Seraphim, I've got to imagine there's also, there's that, but then there's also the cost of them performing at BlizzCon. Again, though, I don't really understand K-pop that much. I don't really know how much you'd pay for that sort of thing. Anyhow, to end things, this half of the year also culminated with the first month of Overwatch 2 Season 8, which came with the weapon skins that we covered at the time. So when you look through all of that, that is a lot of monetization opportunities, isn't it? Things that are tied into major game releases like Diablo 4. Man, if it's not turning a profit through all of that, there certainly is cause to be worried. That being said, profit share. And, if the term Hollywood accounting is appearing in your head, that would probably be for good reason. It's not like Jason has a massive smoking gun or anything on that. It's just whenever I hear profit share, I immediately think big companies can certainly abuse that kind of thing. In the same way, you might think about stock options in a company, and that could be used as a very strong incentive. But then, when you actually look into the details of how those stock options are vested, it ends up being quite a bit more unsavory. Anyway, that's what was going on. Through all of this, Overwatch 2 was not making money. That's a fairly concerning thing, and I would say, do you think that the likes of Cowboy Bebop and Porsche X Diva, you think those are going to be bussing on God no cap, bringing in money forever? Do you really think all the Porsche people will be like, oh my God, it's Diva and a Porsche Macan, let's go? Probably not. Now, all of this is fairly interesting. However, in past years, it may not have went like this, because a policy has changed. And that's why the second half of 2023 is having a lovely 0% bonus. You see, in the past, these bonuses that Blizzard did, according to Jason's reporting, would be based on the overall company performance. And I'm sure if you remember the quote, "good times are always just around the corner," that was actually quite relating to these bonuses. lots of Blizzard employees essentially holding out for when the good times would come and they would actually get their bonuses. Now, if you were working on the Diablo team, you were getting a bonus. If you worked on the World of Warcraft team, you're getting a bonus. But the new thing that changed is that these bonuses are now per franchise performance. Now, in the old system, that would mean if one franchise was in a lull, but another one was doing really strong, well, everyone would be getting something if the company was overall in a very good financial position. And when for years you had games like World of Warcraft trucking on, and by the way, I've actually had some of my reporting on the WoW channel be confirmed by, well, independently by sources that Jazz Corden knows over at the company, so that'll be an interesting thing to talk about. Suffice to say, if you're on the Warcraft development team, probably this bonus structure would be better for you right now. But yeah, what happened, right, is over a long time there have been points of difference between the management of Blizzard Entertainment and the management of Activision. And according to Jason's reporting, it's things like this that led to just generally disagreements, kind of breakdowns between the two sides. Bobby Kotick is reported to have cancelled this policy before he left. So yeah, you know, if you're an Overwatch developer, you really must have an amazing opinion of Bobby Kotick. I mean, he did reportedly, allegedly, quite a lot of fiddling around and interference with Overwatch 1, especially with the Overwatch League that just kind of damaged everything. So he does that. The Overwatch League is kind of his pet project, but what does he do? Well, he basically makes it so that your bonus is 0, and then he gets his lovely golden parachute out of the company where, you know, it's not like he's just getting 300 or whatever million in cash, but overall the assets that he's getting are worth that in the, you know, very, very high, you know, millions. Pretty crazy situation. It's not going to feel good if you're on that team. And of course, this is a team that already has got awful morale for, well, many reasons, this being just one of them. Now, of course, on a short-term basis, you can understand Bobby's position in a way, right? If he's focused very much on the immediate profit and loss, he'll be saying, like, look, this team haven't produced the numbers. Why are they getting a bonus when this team over there have produced the numbers and will be getting a bonus? But ultimately, they're not just like different teams. They're different teams that are part of the same overall organism. So for the people who were running Blizzard, it was more about the health of the organism. And the main reason why this line from Activision, this line from Bobby was pushed back on was because from Blizzard's perspective, he kind of missed the key point, which is creativity. Because imagine this. Blizzard people are thinking, hang on, so if the bonus structure is like this, then all of our best staff are just going to go on the safe bet projects, and we're actually going to damage the overall company because who would be making a new project that's not turning revenue and some new franchise? Who would be doing that when you can just try to go for a more cushy position and say the Warcraft development team and just get a bunch of bonuses? And of course, while, you know, this would be people acting in their own self-interest, and while you can understand a very tight, you know, profit and loss based sort of focus and that kind of thing, if you think about the company in a 5-year time span, a 10-year time span, I think that's basically the point that those older sort of Blizzard leaders were getting at. There is, of course, a gap between J. Allen Brack leaving and, you know, the whole saga with the two presidents that rapidly turned into the one president, with Ybarra then going and now being replaced with Johanna Fares, and I imagine some more of that could perhaps be in his book. Now, as for the topic of hope, as it turns out, Johanna Fares, the new president of Blizzard, is actually said to be reviewing, according to Jason's sources, this whole policy around how the bonuses are done, remote working practices, and stack ranking. Basically, these are all company-wide policies that have been very unpopular with people. It's that sort of thing. If you want to reduce the headcount of some of your teams, but you want to do that without actually overall doing a wave of layoffs or having to pay lots of severance and stuff, well, what you can do is maybe change your work policy with, you know, working from home. You could change that and also do a hiring freeze. Some people will leave because they're maybe getting better offers elsewhere, and you won't have to deal with having laid those people off. Then there's stack ranking, which is basically, it's basically bell curving your staff and trying to, you know, axe the bottom section of it. The thing is, though, it's the sort of thing you could understand it top down from maybe the position of a Bobby-like person, but a lot of team leads kind of hate that practice because they can often end up being forced to, well, pick out who's getting the chop or who's being put on the performance improvement program when they don't really believe that that person's performance warrants that, because it's not being done on a case-by-case basis. It's being done more on a X percentage go on this thing. You know, it's basically a top-down policy, which means that it's not able to suit the individual needs of teams. I think many people would say it's probably better if you have a little bit more devolved authority, you know, down to the team leads who are actually working with their people, and in many cases should know what's best for their team, you would hope. On changing these policies, apparently Johanna has not came to a decision yet, but again, she is fairly new in the role. As for other things related to this story, well, there's also pretty interesting stuff. Jason confirmed that Invasion sold poorly, and that it is a major reason why bonuses basically seem to crater, right? Now again, I'm thinking about accounting here, like, yes, Invasion did poorly. Is this because, like, marketing costs went way up, and those went up, but maybe the sales didn't warrant it? Is this how the costs of that project within Overwatch, is it because of how those costs are being recognized in terms of accountancy? Because again, if you want to reduce profit, like, listen, reducing profits, everybody knows. Reducing what your profits are is a part of doing business. There's a reason why people talk about Hollywood accounting. The idea is, like, if you're a Hollywood studio, but you own the costume company, you own the, whatever, effects, makeup, whatever, and you can do some funny little accounting here to chip away at the profit of your movie in a way that is very useful for purposes such as tax. Or maybe in a case like this, ensuring that those pesky employees don't get a bonus. Because, hey, why would you give a bonus to the Overwatch 2 team making PvE content when you're going to lay them all off anyway? Why invest in people that you plan to remove? It's probably the kind of cynical decision-making that goes on in a situation like that. But Jason did go on to confirm that from what he has heard, that PvE is rather dead. Here's the excerpt. Overwatch 2 developers were informed that the company does not plan to finish any of remaining planned PvE content and will instead double down on competitive PvP, according to people familiar. Now, thinking about that, it's pretty damn simple. If you are making environments, you're making map layouts, you're doing all this stuff for gameplay, you're balancing things, that is going to cost less money than just making loads of content. All of that narrative, I mean, think about all the different steps that's got to go through, all the stuff with getting in the voice actors, and then implementing it into the engine, and then all of that stuff, being tweaked, versions changing over time. And then think about, gameplay designers are playing over a mission again and again and again and again, and we need to change something, we need some new assets, and oh boy, that type of content can get so expensive to make. Of course, in the reporting that happened last week, we heard about the fairly interesting thing of apparently at the pace that they were able to go at, we would have been having an Invasion-sized thing every 18 months, which I think most people would find to be pretty damn surprising. Yeah. PvE dead, essentially, is the TLDR. Next, narrative content leaks. This stuff's kind of fascinating. So, imagine you're one of these staff. You're probably not happy that loads of the things you worked on have been thrown into the bin, and that means you're more likely to leak. And somebody did. Somebody said, I worked, again, spoilers here, I suppose, if you care, but at this stage, who the hell cares? And this is responding to this shot of Winston. They said, I worked for like a month in this shot. I would later go on to work in several scenes for the campaign mode in-game. Imagine campaign being a mode. And they go on to say, none of which will ever see the light of day. They go on to say, you would see Zenyatta standing on his own 2 feet. And they killed Reinhardt at some point in the story. Of course, Reinhardt, he's kind of a death-flagged character. You could have the echoing of the stuff with his mentor character. He's, an older, more experienced member of the team. If you are going to have a character who could maybe go out in a blaze of glory or something like that, it's probably going to be someone like Reinhardt, right? I mean, it would be him sort of upholding the, the values that he learned from that mentor figure in, in that past cinematic. Suffice to say, if you're an Overwatch fan, that's probably interesting news to you that they plan that sort of thing. Rather quickly, though. I mean, not quickly enough for this to spread. I mean, 1.7 million impressions, 33.4 thousand likes, and that tweet is now deleted. Hopefully, more tweets like this do come out. It's always interesting to see, and there is a little bit of just, you know what, screw it. They've laid off the whole team, cancelled the thing, let it all burn. We can all understand that, can't we? Next on, let's talk about Jeff Kaplan. This is fairly, this is fun. Of course, Jason's being a bit of a tease. A Twitter user said, do you happen to know why exactly he left? Was he butting heads with people at Blizzard because of Overwatch 2, or was it unrelated stuff? Jason says, people usually leave jobs for a lot of reasons, but I think after reading the book, people will have a much deeper understanding of exactly what happened. So I've got to imagine given the sort of reporting, there's been not much about Jeff
Where's my
Kaplan,
body?
so thinking about newsworthiness,
My boy.
I think for Jason, this is probably the thing that he feels more content to do as, a part of his book that's probably going to be, the tell-all story of what the hell happened at Blizzard. He has got, in places, pushback over that kind of thing. Somebody talking about, this is just, money for the book, to which Jason said, pretty much like, Lamau, you think books make money? That is kind of true. Books are not particularly greatly monetized if you're the author. He went on to say, basically, I just want the book to do well enough that I can do another book.
Nuts,
I think
man.
perhaps this is speaking to him being at a more transitional point in his career. Often, if you've been doing the news beat a long time,
The
but
fuck
you've
was
maybe
that?
found more success for yourself in doing longer term, more investigative pieces, I think eventually there's a time where you probably want to step back on the day-to-day work, providing content for a website, and instead you maybe want to go away, go deep into a topic for 9 months, a year, whatever, produce a book, and have that be the thing that you want to do for the rest of your career. That's, it's an understandable move, I suppose. If that's how you want to earn the bag, well, fair enough. But don't worry, it ain't fully baked, because Jason did actually share some direct things about Jeff Kaplan. Here's the deal. He wanted to make the sequel to Overwatch that was centered on a PvE experience. He spent several years helming it, and then he left Blizzard in 2021. It's pretty obvious between the lines that is for a reason. Again, look at his other tweets saying that, well, when you read the book, you will have a much deeper understanding of exactly what happened. That says to me you probably have different internal groups, maybe even internal to that team, who, maybe don't always agree with each other, and of course, maybe don't always agree with what's going on at Activision. So, he spent several years helming this, and then he left. The question is, why exactly did he leave? Well, that's where things do get rather interesting. When you actually take a look at some of the prior leaks, we've had staff working on projects like Overwatch 2 basically saying that the idea of Blizzard quality, that's, in a way that seems like a good thing, right? But often some felt, again, this is not people speaking for the entire team, this is just people who worked on that team sharing their experience. But what was said and then widely was reported on is that Blizzard quality almost ended up being an excuse to just delay something and to not, to not ship, right? To not have that completion urgency. A phrase comes to mind like, don't let perfect be the end of good. Sometimes you can just work on something and work on something and rework it and rework it and rework it to the point where it ends up just being a big sloppy mess. And while I don't have anything unique to share, there is a similar thing going on with Riot's MMORPG project. We know that Greg Streets, he went by Ghost Crawler back in his World of Warcraft days, that he was helming that project. He was creating a lot of the team who are going to be building that project. And then he left Riot Games. And we've basically found out that once again, that project has somewhat been reset and that it's a very, very long time coming. And I think we're in an environment where that's just not really okay. Now, certainly that pressure to have like good financials, like that's there, good financials right now, that's absolutely there under Activision. Of course, if you're Blizzard and you have a bunch of projects that are just in the red, but you have a humongous cash cow like Warcraft, then maybe you are going to be like not particularly sensitive to some of those projects just being a big money pit, right? I mean, look how long it took for them to cancel Project Titan, which is then what led to Overwatch. So when I read this, I basically think that Jeff's direction was likely not going to be workable without maybe a bit of a revamp or a rescope or just significantly more time being spent. Per Jason, then a new leadership group took over for various reasons and they pivoted back to PvP. Would have been way too late at that point to nix the sequel. Now this does line up with previous reporting. It actually lines up with some statements that have came out of Blizzard. Basically, Aaron Keller said that they had this crawl, walk, run plan for basically the post Project Titan future, because the whole thing was Project Titan was supposed to be the successor to World of Warcraft, and I do have a little bit of a scoop for you. It's not like I've said it a few times and it never really gets picked up anywhere because I suppose it's not the most concrete thing, but I have heard it from people who were like on the WoW team for a long ass time. Basically, Blizzard didn't really have confidence that World of Warcraft would be that long in the tooth, and because of that, they didn't really make investments that they should have made early on. A lot of that reason is because Project Titan was somewhat meant to be the successor project to something like World of Warcraft. Not because they thought WoW was going to die, but because they thought, well, you know, we probably do need to have another thing, instead of just investing in WoW and, you know, really going all in on the cash cow, which they didn't, which again is a fairly interesting thing. In hindsight, probably a bit of a mistake. I think a lot of WoW players say, you know, where's the player housing? Where's that kind of MMO feature? And I think the answer is those things have always been something that Blizzard could make in the World of Warcraft engine, but because it is an old engine, it would require significant engineering. That engineering is absolutely not beyond them, but that it hasn't happened yet is kind of stemming from a bit of a chronic underinvestment in some of the more fundamental things in WoW, but that very much is something that is, from what I've been led to believe, not the truth today. But anyway, Jeff Kaplan was one of those big people on World of Warcraft, and then he went on, of course, to Project Titan. Project Titan then fails, it gets rescoped into Overwatch 1, and basically it turned out the plan was to do a competitive PvP game, then to expand that world into PvE, and then to move that into a more Project Titan-shaped ambition, maybe an MMO, maybe an MMO light. Again, it's so far in the future, what's the point in even talking about it? I did find it really enjoyable though recently, and I mean more in a humorous way, but actually going back and looking at the Overwatch 2 panels from BlizzCon, and you really can see it. They were going for something with way more replayability that was more than just a, you know, 12 mission campaign. Per Jason, in his responses to readers, he actually said this, and this is interesting. Activision would have been happy to continue with Overwatch 1. This, referring to Overwatch 2 as a PvE game, was a Blizzard decision. And to me, this does point at things not being completely cut and dry, black and white, good and evil, regarding the Kaplan era and Kaplan direction. It's one of those things, I think, him wanting to go full PvE, eventually maybe wanting to kind of rekindle the old dream from the past of Project Titan that, of course, so many people on that team had been working on for so many years. Noble goal, right? I think we can totally all understand that. But Overwatch 1 not being fully supported and those resources going over to Overwatch 2, that, per what Jason's sources have told him, was firmly a Blizzard decision. And in that context, I think we can absolutely understand Activision being unhappy, because Activision is seeing success in Overwatch 1 right now. Players in Overwatch 1 are feeling that success, but are also beginning to have more of a drought in content. All the while, this Overwatch 2 project appears to be basically impossible to make. You can certainly see, well, at the very least, that's a recipe for a few good chapters of Jason's book, which, I mean, you've sort of clickbaited me on it, haven't you? Yeah, I'll obviously be checking it out because, look, it's a big tell-all book on Blizzard that's, you know, that's being created because somebody has reached out to loads of people involved in how that sausage was made. Obviously, I'm going to be right on top of that book whenever it comes out because what's in that book will have been running parallel to so many of the things that we've been talking about on this channel, so I certainly cannot wait for the information drop at the very least. That is that for today's video. Overwatch 2 PvE, dead. Overwatch 2 PvP, seemingly full steam ahead, but obviously because that is a far less expensive thing to make, and that is why they fired pretty much the entire PvE team. What a bright and rosy time. It's tricky for me. As always, I think that Overwatch 2 is a really fun game to play, at least in my own, you know, very mid-level way, but it's not the thing that I wanted. I just wanted Overwatch 1 to continue, and I was excited about PvE. So many people I knew were, but ultimately I talked to people who were die-hard fans. You know, like friends of mine IRL, and I'm sure it's the same for you guys. You talk to your friends who are die-hard Overwatch fans, who owned, you know, not just like own some random small art book, who owned the big, expensive art book, who would really be all in and everything with Overwatch, and they literally don't give a shit about the brand. So I guess congratulations. This has been a shit show for years. Now it is going to be lean, mean, and very much focused on competitive PvP, and that is why Jason said that there are some hopes internally for that direction, because I suppose they know what their gameplay numbers are right now, and they probably know that if they axe all of the extraneous expenses and just focus on the core game, that they can just run a profitable thing, but not a cultural phenomenon in my estimation. What do you think? Let me know, and I'll see you next time.
Holy shit.
Okay guys, we are here in Helldivers 2 and things are taking weird turns left, right and centre. We've got a lot of positives today, but we've also got a negative at hand, which is, well, rattling my cage more than I care to admit. Right now, we're going to be diving into a lot going on with the major order and the war of the galactic map right now. On top of that, we've got some talks about some things you guys mentioned over on Reddit and some new planet leaks with gameplay attached. So make sure that you stay tuned to that one, and if you don't want to watch it, then make sure you stay tuned for our spoiler alert before this one goes in. If you haven't already, smash that beautiful blue thumbs up and subscribe with post notifications turned on. It'd be greatly appreciated. On top of that, check out our sponsor for today's video, Advanced GG, the #1 clinically proven energy supplement on the market. My favorite flavor is cherry vanilla, but you guys can catch an array of flavors via the link in the description. Using code CLOUD at checkout will get you a cheeky discount. And with that being said, let's dive on in to today's video. So before we get into any of it, the background footage in gameplay is today's footage that we jumped on. I tried to get a bit of gameplay for you guys, so we jumped in and went for a couple of rounds, and bloody hell, this thing was a nightmare. Now the footage you're watching in the background is skeptical to say the least, and this is my biggest problem with today's video. The problem we're having right now, even though they've allegedly fixed the breakage of crashing and the breakage of freezing, you'll see that the gameplay footage is completely uncut, and this one has been a frustrating morning for me to say the least. Just trying to get some simple gameplay for you guys to run in the background just didn't seem to be as easy as I would hoped it would be. We run into the first mission, obviously running the EATs, and bloody hell, the whole thing was just an absolute shambles. The game bugged out, crashed, and kicked me straight pretty much off the bat. We managed to get a couple of shots off with the EATs. The moment I dropped more than 2, it was pretty much game over, and we reset back to the ship. Now, this was a bit of a frustration, so we tried to jump on in and went into an eradicate mission, and I thought if I host it, maybe we won't have as many problems.
I got a big sword now.
And behold, we got to the end of the eradicate mission and actually had some issues with the ship loading in to take us away. So it was just a ridiculous morning, not the greatest in gameplay, and something which is irritating me greatly. If Arrowhead are watching this, the focus at the moment really needs to be fixing the servers as far as what it can take and what it's capable of doing, and if it's not capable of taking certain weapons, then realistically you need to disable them as of right now until you can fix this further. But when we're moving into the actual war itself, for those of you guys who are able to play on a substantial level, we have got the main galactic war status, and right now we are obviously still waiting to attack Troost, but it does seem to be looking quite good on the forefront. Everybody seems to be doing their part, and Ustotu, whatever you want to pronounce it as, is pretty much there. We are at 74% liberation, and we've got around 36,000 people in there as of right now. It's taken about a 10-hour liberation call, and obviously this is the quiet period at 7 AM in the morning. Nonetheless, this is going to pick up, and this will be done very, very soon, moving towards Vandalon 4. So fingers crossed we can get that one done by the end of today, maybe even by tomorrow, which will leave us with around 2 days remaining to take off Troost and tick that box at large. Although sticking a spanner in the works, good old Joel seems to have wound us up yet again, and he has put not capable of taking certain weapons, then realistically you need to disable them as of right now until you can fix this further. But when we're moving into the actual war itself, for those of you guys who are able to play on a substantial level, we have got the main galactic war status, and right now we are obviously still waiting to attack Troost, but it does seem to be looking quite good on the forefront. Everybody seems to be doing their part, and Ustotu, whatever you want to pronounce it as, is pretty much there. We are at 74% liberation, and we've got around 36,000 people in there as of right now. It's taken about a 10-hour liberation call, and obviously this is the quiet period at 7 AM in the morning. Nonetheless, this is going to pick up, and this will be done very, very soon, moving towards Vandalon 4. So fingers crossed we can get that one done by the end of today, maybe even by tomorrow, which will leave us with around 2 days remaining to take off Troost and tick that box at large. Although, sticking a spanner in the works, good old Joel seems to have wound us up yet again, and he has put a defend mission on Hellmire. On bloody Hellmire. I feel like this guy's having too much of a giggle behind his computer screen right now. This is not the planet that we want to be on, but there is a lot going on inside of the game as far as lore goes right now, and there seems to be some announcements and stuff going on inside of the ships, claiming that there are automatons all over Hellmire. So make sure you are going at large, and make sure you go with haste. It's a pretty big one. Let's dive on in, get the defend out of the way. We've got 12.5 hours left on that one, and then we can move on to the actual major order at large.
Picture.
Been a bloody nightmare day, boys. I will not lie to you guys, but we have had a lot happening. Essentially, there was a statement gone up on a Reddit post with 2.8 thousand upvotes on this one, evidently agreeing, saying the fact that no one complained about the EAT recoilless buff to charges shows that the weapons are actually fun to use when they kill stuff. This game is PvE, fun should be prioritized. Give every weapon the same love as the EAT, recoilless and flamethrower. We deserve to use more than the same few guns. Now, I definitely agree with this, and as of right now, I actually applaud this massively and really do push flamethrower.
The fact that no one complained about the EAT recoilless buff to charges shows that weapons are actually fun to use when they kill stuff. This game is PvE, fun should be prioritized, give every weapon... Oh, I think they're saying that for the railgun. Yeah, man. Devs are going a little too far, man. Arrowhead's fucking up.
Give every weapon the same love as the EAT, recoilless and flamethrower. We deserve to use more than the same few guns. Now, I definitely agree with this, and as of right now, I actually applaud this massively and really do push them to do it, because I use the EAT all the time. I really like using it. It's one of my favorite support weapons, but my god, until they fix this bloody game, I can't actually use it. That's just the problem that I'm at large. So feel free to buff anything while you're actually trying to do that. That would be great. That post is elaborated if you guys want to read it. All sources are down in the description as of always. But an interesting thing that you guys may not have known, with an overall statement and a TLDR, you guys will like this one greatly. The laser cannons can destroy Shrieker's nests from 200 meters. Now, the TLDR of that is that you just need to ping the nest, be at 200 meters or closer, and then cook the glowing bits. It's just really that simple, but this does work quite nicely, and it means that it gives you a reason to run the laser cannons while you're defending Hellmire as to what it is that's going to be happening inside of there, because let's be known, the Shriekers are an absolute nightmare, to be fair. Moving on from that, though, we are going into leak territory, so please, if you don't want to know about this, this is the time to leave. But before you do leave, we are giving away a copy of Helldivers 2, and if you've already got the game, then we'll give you guys the money equivalent in super credits. So with that being said, if you guys want to get involved with it, it's extremely simple. You head down to the comment section and stick in a green heart. Why a green heart? We're going to get back to that one in just a second, for those of you who want the leaks.
What the fuck,
but get
bro?
into the comment section and put a green heart in the comment section, and it'll enter you in. We're going to do the announcement this weekend over on the community page here on the channel, and in the Discord, which is at now nearly 9,000 members, which is absolutely unheard of. Everybody's having a right laugh in there, and everyone's playing at Helldivers together. I absolutely love spending my time in there. It's great fun. But with that being said, green heart in the comment section. Let's dive on in to the leaks. So first one we have right here saying, I found farm equipment. Now, the speculation in the comments to this Reddit post is actually that this is coming from Super Earth, and that would probably be the correct foundation for this one. It does seem to be a asset pack for some sort of actively renowned planet, and Super Earth would make the most sense for this. What it's used for, don't know, just could be out in the middle of a field, so we're going to move on quite quickly from this. But if you guys are wondering what Super Earth looks like, this is it right here. Now, the states right here, dropped into a terminate mission on Super Earth. Placeholder map? Question mark. Now, this does look so damn cool. I don't even know why it looks so cool, and I don't know why it's not what I was expecting, but it's all completely alive. This thing looks absolutely incredible, and for me, this was probably one of the most alive sectors that we've seen yet, and it looks so nice. Just, it's so aesthetically pleasing. I think that as far as Super Earth goes, there must be areas of it which are more like city based. You can run through the city. I'd like to hope you can run through the city and it's not all just vegetation. That would be great. Well, let me know what you guys are thinking of the Super Earth map here on the comment sections. I'm actually interested to know what it is you guys are thinking. But for a planet a little less desirable, we have got the acid rain on acid planet Esker. Now, this planet does seem like a bit of a nightmare, and the acid rain does not look too enjoyable. The clip isn't long enough to really know exactly what it is that it does, but you can see the health depletion prior, and in this clip it is quite a short one, so I don't actually know what it does, but it is really, really nice to know that the acid rain is not going to slow us down, because my good lord, if I had to do an entire planet, I'm sorry, but you guys would have been there on your own. I couldn't have done it. An entire planet on slow-mo? Bloody hell. Somebody would have had to have shot me in the face. Sorry, it's just the truth. But anyway, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. It looks like there's not very much going on from the Arrowhead team, which really needs to change sometime soon. They need to get their fingers out of their bottoms, stop focusing on new content, and maybe get this stuff fixed before the community at large takes a bit of a whacking. This one is going to be a bit of a skeptical one. I personally am going nowhere. I love this game with all of my being, and I
gotta go all the way on top there.
Definitely got some hope and faith that they can turn it around. But these bugs and crashes, they need to go. That's just my honest opinion. Thank you so much again for watching, guys. If you haven't already, smash that like button.
Yeah, I would have been playing Helldivers 2 right now, but it fucking runs like shit.
Appreciate you all, and as always, up until the next time,
crashing, disconnecting. I'm tired of wasting my fucking time. Losing all my goddamn rewards. Can we go up here?
Sweet liberty. Helldivers 2 is getting bigger, and I know you're sitting there thinking to yourself, you madman, what are you talking about? There's no way. But if you've taken the time to play Helldivers 1 like I have, which all of you guys should, by the way, it's only like $4 on Steam. I don't know what it is on the PlayStation Store, but it's a really good deal. Not a paid ad or anything.
No way,
like
I'm not making it on top of this rock. What the fuck?
Like
oh,
you guys when you can get those kind of things. So yeah, go do that. But if you've taken the time to play Helldivers 1, then you likely already know a lot of the content that's headed towards Helldivers 2 in the near future, and there's a lot of it. But this goes far beyond that, because, well, there's been a lot of different leaks and information and conversations that have been going on over the last couple of weeks, and I've taken them, I've disseminated them, distilled them into a nice fine cup of liberty to serve to you guys today. And it's not just things like stratagems and weapons. No, we're talking weapon customization, character customization, ranks, long forms of progression that I know many players are looking forward to. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all things Helldivers 2, from the stability of the game to the future of the game. So, as is with tradition, lock and load, Helldivers. It's time to dive in. For the past few weeks, I've discussed the player counts for Helldivers 2, and while the game definitely has slowed down over the past couple of weeks, it's understandable. Other live service games have had some updates, like Destiny 2 back on March 5th, and one of the year's most anticipated titles in Dragon's Dogma 2 just released as well. The 458k player peak is well behind us, and the game is experiencing a natural decay as those who rode in on the hype train are riding off into the sunset, and the game is starting to find its dedicated player base. I used a chart briefly in my last video showcasing the natural decay of Destiny 2, and even when the game was in its peak in the eyes of the player base, the game still eventually came back down to earth. It's unrealistic for a non-competitive shooter to hold 450 or 300k players, and while I know that journalists and other creators they're often attracted to talking about how games are dying, I urge you to ignore it because it's rage bait at best, and it completely ignores the loop of Helldivers 2 and how players engage with live service games, or, well, games in general. Now, that's not to say that Helldivers 2 isn't still wildly popular and beyond even my own expectations. Over the weekend, the game was still breaking over 300,000 players almost 2 months after the game has been released, and then I realized that there's something here, something else that players are keeping around for, and I didn't really notice it at first. The reason the game shouldn't be able to hold over 300,000 players ends up being the reason why it is retaining players, and that's that it's non-competitive. So over this last weekend, I was talking with one of my friends about why I love Helldivers 2. It was a genuine question from him because he bounced off of the game. He felt it was overhyped, and don't worry about it. I already reported him to my local democracy officer for re-education. But with that said, I responded to him in a way that I haven't really talked about in videos before, and that's that I love shooters.
You don't know how to handle
I've
that.
always loved shooters. I've always been a massive fan of them, especially competitive shooters for a really long time. But slowly but surely, I've kind of evolved out of that and haven't liked them as much. I mean, I spent hundreds of hours in Verdansk back with Warzone.
Free Color 77.
And after that, which I mean, arguably ruined it by getting rid of Verdansk
Who are
to begin
you?
with, but that's a whole other issue entirely. But I
you.
came to find that I just got tired of the competitive shooter loop,
Oh God,
especially as
Valdo
things
again.
have progressed over the last few years, and they just don't give me that experience and that enjoyment that I'm looking for in the same way that Helldivers 2 does. And then it got me thinking. Apex Legends, Call of Duty, Fortnite, PUBG,
Jesus
Valorant, none of these
Christ.
games interest me anymore, and I think that that's true for a lot of players. Now, that's obviously not all players. These games are wildly popular, and I'm sure that there are some of you that play both Helldivers 2 and some of these games as well, but there's an audience out there that loves playing shooters, but hates competitive shooters nowadays.
Bro, come on,
especially
man. What are you
skill-based
doing?
matchmaking,
Back
which
the fuck up.
has completely ruined competitive shooters. It just punishes you for doing well. There is a skill gap in these games. It feels like it increases day over day because the people that are playing this game are incentivized monetarily to be good at the game because they want to become streamers, professional players, and content creators. And as a result, it's removed all of the fun and enjoyment I used to experience and instead has turned these games into a job more than anything else. And then I realized that outside of Destiny 2, there really isn't any good PvE live service game alternative until Helldivers 2. Yeah, I like the game because of its narrative difficulty, the power fantasy, the gameplay, but more than anything, I like it because it's fun. And it doesn't have any of that competitive noise that is associated with every single shooter nowadays. I don't have to worry about playing the game every single day so that I don't miss out on weapons, attachments, and rewards from an expiring battle pass, leaving myself a step behind if I come back to the game because everybody else is using weapons that I don't have access to anymore, or it'll take me even longer to grind them out to play the game in the first place. I don't need to worry about getting rusty at a game or getting worse at a game because I'm terrified that some 12-year-old kid is going to 360 no-scope me and start dating my mom. Helldivers 2 is easy to pick up and put down.
Start dating
it's okay
my
if
mom.
I accidentally kill my friends or even do it on purpose. You don't have to be highly skilled. It's low stakes, low investment, and it's easily digestible, and that's one of the reasons why I love this game so much. That approachability extends to how Helldivers 2 manages player progression and community interaction. Unlike its competitive counterparts, it fosters a cooperative atmosphere where players feel encouraged to help one another out rather than outperform one another. Notice that there is no kill counter on screen while you're playing the game. The game's design emphasizes teamwork and strategy over individual skill, rewarding players for working together efficiently rather than trying to pit them against each other in an insurmountable skill curve. This camaraderie and mutual support is what makes Helldivers 2 stand out in a competitive crowd, a crowded market of shooters that often prioritize competition over community. It's a refreshing change that brings back the joy and excitement that I used to remember from my different shooter sessions in the past, and that focus being where it is now just makes it feel like every single time that I log into the game, it's just to have a good time. That's it. You're going to see the flavor of the month players move on. That happens with every single game, but I've already seen a lot of the discussions that have been happening lately. People saying that the game is too repetitive, that it needs even more content than it already has, that they've already unlocked everything that the game has to offer. Even the meta Andes from before, talking about the best loadouts in the game, now saying that the game needs to change entirely for it to be able to survive. But what they fail to realize is that's not what this game is intended for. That's not what it's wired for. That's not the audience that the game was designed for in the first place. This game was designed for the people that have been left behind. Far too many of these games lately have been trying to chase popular trends, and as a result, well, yeah, you're going to grab that major, huge audience that likes to shift from place to place to place to the next great thing, but what you're failing to do is you're failing to capture the audiences that are outside of that, and that's exactly what Helldivers 2 is doing, and because of that, that's why it's succeeding. Because there is a lot of players that are being left behind with a lot of these different competitive shooters and, well, just a lot of the different live service models that many of these companies have come up with over the last few years. Now, that's not to say that Helldivers 2 isn't going to change or change significantly. It is. And for those dedicated players that are sticking around, well, Arrowhead Studios is going to end up giving us that long-term progression that we're all looking for. So in Helldivers 1, research points played a crucial role in enhancing your weapons and stratagems, serving as this pivotal element in the game's progression system. You would earn these points by completing missions and exploring different planets, and then you would use those points to upgrade weapons, equipment, and stratagems, allowing you to be able to tailor your experience and adjust it to suit your individual playstyle or the needs of your squad. This would influence everything from firepower to added functionality or even passive abilities. And in a recent data mine, there are subtitles that are suggesting that players are going to be able to spend research points to progress their desired Helldiver class in Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2's progression system is relatively bare bones compared to the options that were given to us in Helldivers 1. However, it does go to show just how much room the game still has to grow. If you've watched any of my live streams or other videos, then you likely already know that a class-based system is something that I desperately want for Helldivers 2, and it suits the longer type of chase or progression system that I think that the game needs. When I drop in with a squad, everybody's already picking their favorite stratagems and weapons that suit their playstyle. Giving players the opportunity to be able to further specialize with their loadouts, with their playstyle, is only going to lead to even more dynamic gameplay and emergent moments that we often see in the game already. Many, if not all, of the stratagems deployed in Helldivers 1 are already in the game files for Helldivers 2, or they've already been released into the game. Defensive shields, long-range weapons, nukes, mechs, vehicles, and even a healing drone. Giving players the ability to specialize in specific weapons, have class functionality, add functionality to stratagems that weren't there to begin with, pick up passive abilities, and help people fulfill whatever power fantasy they have can already make a great game even better. I'm already fantasizing about playing matches where I'm a long-range stealth specialist, able to quickly take down patrols before they reach my teammates. Seeing an armored teammate able to draw enemy attention and lead them off towards a kill zone for a trap specialist. Or even having a support member that's running around healing wounds and providing defense against a horde of enemies. I've already seen the leaks showing off all kinds of different things like the Emancipator mech using dual auto cannons, the flamethrower mech, deployable cover,
how do I use that
weapons,
attack properly?
galactic
I'm just
war
stepping
events,
on
and
him.
even hints at the Illuminate joining the fight soon enough. And while a lot of this content is undoubtedly going to keep players playing, I have a general feeling that another long form of progression outside of war bonds is something that many players would love to have, and I'm definitely one of them. Now, I still play regularly because, well, I enjoy the game, but more than anything, I enjoy the community, and I really dig the narrative. I like having the ability to hop into the game, play for a few hours, and feel like I'm helping to progress a story with everybody else, contributing to the war effort and unlock content for everybody in the future. And while that's nice, I would like to have some other form of longer progression, something for me to strive for, another goal for me to achieve personally. And I think that that's true for a lot of players. We expect that kind of thing because we've seen it in other games, but it really does suit a game like Helldivers 2. And after we look at the leaks and then we combine that with what we've seen from Helldivers 1 and the progression systems that they had in that, well, it's pretty easy for us to be able to see an evolved version of that take place in Helldivers 2, and I'm really hoping that's something that we're going to see. And personally, I think that's exactly what we're going to see, but it's going to be a while before they make any massive changes like a class-based system to Helldivers 2, because there are other things that they need to work on that are, well, much more urgent. Helldivers 2 launched with enough content to get players by, while the narrative, the community, and the moment-to-moment gameplay is what's kept players strapped in for the long haul. I've been seeing players that have been asking why level caps haven't been increased, or currency caps haven't been increased, or why weapons haven't been balanced more quickly, and it's likely because that they have all this different content waiting in the wings, but more than anything, the stability of the game needs to come first. Helldivers 2 has been plagued with issues ever since the game released, and the developers are well aware of it. Weapons despawning when another teammate disconnects mid-match, spawn rate issues, rewards not being issued, failed logins, friend requests that are not going through or just staying on the screen, all these issues that are likely caused by the overwhelming success, the unexpected success of the game, and the team is under a lot of pressure, needing to increase server stability and accessibility instead of fixing common bugs and issues. Regardless of the circumstances, players can only be forgiving for so long, and
You
while
want
I
that?
haven't had very many issues with the game myself, I know of a lot of others that have, and it's likely causing a hang-up for Arrowhead Studios, knowing that they need to actively fix issues in the game while also introducing new content to keep players interested and keep players coming back. Furthermore, the last thing that they want to have happen again is release new content into the game and have that new content causing issues. We know well enough how insatiable players can be when it comes to content, and how quickly we can move on from game to
Swear it's
game
fucking
and give it very
disgusting.
little thought. Dragon's Dogma 2 just released, Path of Exile 2 gets a beta in the summer, Elden Ring DLC is on the way, Black Myth Wukong releases in the fall. It's imperative that Helldivers 2 continues to pump out new content, but even more so that they stabilize and balance the game so they can facilitate that new content on its release. And I think it's really important to understand this dynamic. The developers over at Arrowhead Studios are caught in a classic bind, juggling the necessity of enriching Helldivers 2 with fresh content to be able to sustain their player base, but also simultaneously squaring away technical issues that could ruin the experience for everyone. This is a really delicate balancing act. On one side, new weapons, levels, and a new progression system could inject much needed vigor into the game, enticing players to stick around or make other players return back to the game. But on the other hand, introducing these elements without ensuring the game's infrastructure can even handle it risk compounding these issues even further, or worse, creating new issues. So it's basically a tightrope of prioritizing resources where the decision to deploy either a new feature or fix an existing bug is going to have an immediate impact on the game's audience. The anticipation for upcoming new titles this spring and then beyond only adds even more pressure to this situation. In a market in which many players' attention is divided all over the place among several high-caliber releases this year, the challenge for Helldivers 2 is not just to make sure that their interest is held and captured, but it's also to maintain a careful blend of innovation and stability. And I think that's exactly where the disconnect is going to come for some of the players that are in the player base, because we're so used to playing games that have these massive bug fix lists or massive content drops at different times. And that's just not how Helldivers 2 is wired. It's very much drip-fed more than anything else. One day we got mechs, a week later we got a war bond, and that's kind of similar to what I think the game is going to look like. I doubt we'll ever see any type of massive overhaul to the game because it's not super necessary, but many of the things, many of the changes, many of the new content and fixes are always going to come in small little bits because it's the easiest for them
You
to be
deserve
able
to die.
figure out what issues arise
Money's
because
hard
of
to
those
come by in
changes
these
and fixes,
times.
and then coordinate
What
on
a
how to
piece of
fix
shit.
that or how to introduce something new. And that's something that I've kind of noticed historically when it comes to Arrowhead Studios, is that when they post patch
Times
notes,
to know
it's
the
super
homeless?
small.
I gotta kill
There's
a
not a lot of
homeless
changes
guy?
that they do. Even if they do a
Fucked
patch
up.
or a balance patch or something like that, it's relatively small. They don't really try to target a whole slew of weapons. They just do a few, see how it works, let it slide for a couple weeks, and then check it out later. And I think that's probably the best thing that they can do. And I brought this up in my last video where I was talking about how I think they were using us as quality testers, basically making us go and fight the bugs until they got the bugs balanced out the way that they wanted and make sure they tested it enough to make sure that the bugs were good. And now they're going to send us over to the automatons and probably do the exact same thing. I would not be surprised if we start seeing a balance patch roll through in the next couple weeks for bots specifically, where it, whether that's increasing damage for certain weapons or increasing different hit boxes or hurt boxes or weak spots or whatever it might be, to give the players a little bit more of an advantage and try to equal it out a little bit, and not make it as crazy as it has been over the last little while. Because I don't know if you guys have seen recently, there's definitely been some posts regarding it where players have talked about how it seems like most players like fighting bugs more than players like fighting bots. And while I do think that has a lot to do with the major orders, I do think that it actually does have to do with players not wanting to fight bots, because bots are chaotic. But I think it's
What
the
the
best
fuck
thing
was
for
that,
them to do,
lightning?
honestly. More times than not, when I've looked at other games in the past, and anytime they do any of these like huge changes where they overhaul a bunch of different things all at once, it almost always creates a bunch of extra issues that now they need to go back and fix. It upsets a ton of different players because people are used to different ways they've been playing the game. At least if you're making these small changes, if it is going to upset some players in the community, or if it's going to cause an issue, it's going to be on a much smaller scale, easier to control, easier to isolate and fix, and then move on after that. So if this is the way that they're going to continue to do things, I'm looking forward to it because I think it's the best thing for them to do, especially with the size of their studio. They only got 100 people, which is relatively small speaking when you're looking at many of the other studios that are out in the market. But yeah. So anyway, that's all I got for the video today. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure you guys drop a comment down below. Let me know if I'm not covering something that I should be covering with Helldivers 2, or if there's any type of other Helldivers 2 content you guys would like to see. But outside of that, that is all I have today. So if you enjoyed it, like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel for more Helldivers 2 or just video game content in general. Catch me live over on Twitch. And yeah, that's about it. So stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe, my friends, and most of all, Helldivers. Tonight we dine in hell. Peace.
Family, 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 family.
Is that your student? Fucking Valdo. Damn, how did he still get me? What the fuck, man? I'm starting to get used to his combos. Damn. What the fuck, bro? Chill. Oh my god. Fucking die. Damn it. Can't get the parry timing right, man. Bro, come on. This is so fucking stupid. Shitty ass climbing. Fuck. Can I kill the bird? Oh, left. You just brought me to a dead body. Alright. That was good. Good shit. Damn. Holy shit, he killed me with that. What the fuck? Just tossing that other guy around too. Can I retry or do I have to... My vendetta. Here he is. Let's go. Critical, bro. What the fuck? What the fuck is that? Holy shit. Just hit him. Jesus fucking Christ, man. This fucking game. shit. Damn, bro, we're going in. You didn't even finish with your fight yet. And fuck this guy up with the sword. Damn. Get him. Man, fists are fucking strong in this game. Let me get one more fight. Oh, the fucking British. Jesus Christ. Ready? Oh, chain gun. Let's just shoot this at them. Oh, the fucking double hammer guy. This fucking pussy. Come on, bitch. I'm ready for you this time. I'm fucking swimming. Let's get out of here. Come on, bro. Oh. Yeah, this class is fucking nasty. I think I'm gonna carry the greatsword. I like the Odachi, but this greatsword is just so fucking good. I want one greatsword and one light weapon. The Odachi is nice, but if I'm gonna be working with a blade, it might as well be Hiroyuki Uchikatana. Damn, it does 260 though. Holy shit. Excuse me. Attack, critical hits, blood gauge. I'll do the Horyuki. Actually, you know what? I'll try some different weapons. We got the... I already did katana. I don't know if I've played with a spear before. I'll fuck with that a little bit. Peas on you? What kind of name is that? That's a pretty good name for a dog. Oh, cat? Where? I must know. Yes, kitty. I don't want the spear. Bayonet. I'll try the bayonet. Holy shit. French training. Nice. Damn, she got some combos on it. This is fast. Oh shit. Oh. Shoots it, damn. Let's go fuck up that guy with the musket. There's a fugitive over here. Let's get him real quick. What up, bitch? Fight. Nah, I don't like it. I'll fuck with the oxtail blade. Attacks combos, attacks critical hits, martial skill, and counter spark. I'll take this one with some better passives. So it's literally double level, so of course it does double damage. Oh my god, this thing is nasty, so fast. Oh, I remember this from Wolong. This thing was fucking awesome. I don't think this exact one, I don't think the blade stretched out, I'm not sure, but... that's nice. Can I kill him? Alright. Oh boy, I've got to take a break.